Okay, part 3 of Meet Leon Benson. I had ChatGPT tell me about this case. They have a nice little summary. I'll read it here. This is actually a fascinating wrongful conviction because it wasn't one dramatic DNA test that freed Leon Benson. It was the accumulation of evidence showing the original investigation was fundamentally flawed and that police failed to disclose evidence pointing to another suspect. The Marion County Conviction Integrity Unit eventually concluded it could no longer stand behind the conviction. Here's the progression. August 8th, 1998, the murder. Around 3:30 a.m., Casey Schoen was sitting in his pickup truck near downtown Indianapolis when someone walked up and shot him 5 times in the head with a .380 handgun. The police had no murder weapon, no fingerprints, no DNA, and no confession. The case would depend almost entirely on witnesses. Police immediately had 2 suspects. Suspect number 1, Leon Benson. Police eventually focused on Benson, whose nickname was Detroit. The prosecution's case relied heavily on one eyewitness who identified Benson, and testimony placing him near the scene, and circumstantial evidence. There was never physical evidence connecting him to the murder. Suspect number 2, Joseph Looney Webster. This is where the case gets interesting. During the original investigation, detectives learned Webster had recently been arrested carrying a .380 handgun, the same caliber used in the murder. Residents of the apartment complex were already telling police Looney committed the murder. Webster matched clothing descriptions given by witnesses. Webster refused to talk once he had an attorney. Those facts alone made him a serious investigative lead. Then more evidence pointing to Webster appeared. Detectives obtained information that a witness identified Webster. One witness picked Webster, not Benson, from a photo lineup as the shooter. The jury never heard this. Webster allegedly bragged about the murder. A detective received info that Webster had bragged to an ex-girlfriend about killing the victim. Again, the jury never heard it. Another witness, Eddie. One detective's notes recorded that an individual named Eddie reportedly witnessed the shooting and said Webster had shot the white guy. Again, never disclosed. The hidden police notes. This became the biggest issue. During the reinvestigation of 2021 to 2023, attorneys uncovered 77 pages of Detective Alan Jones's notes that had never been turned over to either the defense or apparently even the prosecutors. Those notes contained alternate suspect evidence, witness statements, investigative leads, information favorable to Benson. Under Brady v. Maryland, prosecutors must disclose materially exculpatory evidence to the defense. Suppressing such evidence can violate a defendant's due process rights. The Conviction Integrity Unit concluded that the non-disclosure undermined confidence in the verdict. All you Delphi fans, are you paying attention here? The eyewitness problems. Another major issue emerged. The state's principal eyewitness, Donald Brooks, claimed he saw Benson commit the murder. Years later, investigators examined where Brooks was standing, trees, buildings, and sightlines. They concluded that Brooks likely could not have physically seen the shooting from where he claimed to be. That significantly weakened one of the prosecution's central pieces of evidence. Surveillance that wasn't pursued. The hidden notes also showed detectives knew nearby cameras existed, but some footage wasn't reviewed or preserved, and other surveillance was deemed poor quality without being copied. While not proving innocence by itself, this became another example cited in criticisms of the original investigation. The Conviction Integrity Unit. In 2021, Marion County created its Conviction Integrity Unit. Benson's attorneys from the University of San Francisco Law School worked jointly with prosecutors, not against them. After roughly 18 months of reviewing the case, they jointly concluded They no longer had confidence in the integrity of the conviction. That is a powerful statement because it came from the prosecution itself. They asked the court to vacate the conviction, and the judge granted that request in March 2023. You guys paying attention? Was Webster ever convicted? Joseph Webster? Joseph Looney Webster? No. That's an important distinction. The evidence uncovered strongly implicated Webster and showed investigators had substantial evidence pointing toward him that wasn't properly pursued or disclosed. However, Webster has not been convicted of Casey Shone's murder. The exoneration established that Benson's conviction could not stand. It did not legally determine Webster's guilt. Why did Casey's sister switch sides? This is one of the most unusual parts of the story. After reviewing the evidence uncovered during the reinvestigation, Colleen Bunch, Casey Shone's sister, came to believe Benson had been wrongfully convicted. She later joined Benson in a civil lawsuit alleging police misconduct and arguing that the original investigation prevented accountability for the actual killer. Why this case gets attention? Many wrongful conviction cases involve mistaken eyewitnesses or later DNA evidence. Benson's case stands out because the exoneration was driven largely by suppressed investigative records, an alternate suspect who had not been fully investigated, and the collapse of confidence in key eyewitness testimony rather than by new forensic evidence. It has become one of Indiana's most prominent examples of a conviction overturned after a conviction integrity unit reinvestigation. So, all you Delphi fans, are you paying attention here? Apparently, wrongful convictions do happen more often than you'd ever guess, as just a casual layman here on the internet. This is shocking stuff. And now I will say, there is one detail. His first trial was a mistrial, hung jury. Couldn't get a unanimous verdict, either guilty or not guilty. Then on the second try, he was convicted. Now look, it's my understanding that all the mobsters, all the gangsters back in the day, they knew if you got to get rid of your victims' bodies, because if there's no body, there's no evidence, and you got to get rid of the murder weapon. You gotta, toss it like they did on The Sopranos. Toss it away, throw it in the ocean, whatever. Bury it, get rid of it, right? Throw it in a dumpster, toss it in the landfill. And the fact that people are convicted for murders without a murder weapon, that blows my fucking mind. There's something seriously wrong with the American public. They really are just too stupid for jury duty. That's my opinion. And look, I told you guys, I'm a right-wing extremist of sorts. If we have slam dunk evidence, smoking gun evidence that someone committed a violent crime, a sex crime, I say hang them in the town square, just like our ancestors did, the greatest men who ever existed in the 18th and 19th century, just like the Wild West days. You steal a horse, and there's evidence to try and convict someone, a horse thief, you hang them. Get rid of the evildoers. But all this stuff about wrongful conviction and the fact that somehow the prosecution is just more favored. It was never supposed to be favored that way, where we lean towards the government. No. Our founders set it up so that worst case scenario, someone guilty would walk rather than someone innocent being convicted and thrown in prison. That was the way it's supposed to work. And men back then understood that. Today, apparently the public, they're brain dead. They are stupid. You can't get them to care about anything. All they care is about celebrity, entertainment, sports, leisure. The average, and these are registered voters. That's what makes up your jury pool. Registered voters. What does that tell you about the state of America? All right, enough of me ranting. There is part 3 of Meet Leon Benson.